Three Demons, Book 1, Chapter 4, War Against My Ex. Jake gets back to the clubhouse where Rhea is there to meet him. Rhea walks up to Jake and slaps him in the face, clearly knowing he was with Asuka again, after she had twice told us not to. Let me make this clear. When I say don't do something, you don't do it. Do you understand? Jake kept looking down, not saying anything in response to what Rhea had just said to him. Rhea sighed. Look, Randy, I know you care about this girl, but it would be suicide for you to go into the church by yourself. You'd surely die. Rhea grabs Jake and holds him in her arms. I really don't want to lose you. Do you understand? Rhea lets go of Jake. Me and Ava have to go meet up with the student council tonight. Please do not do anything stupid, Randy. As Rhea and Ava had left, Jake began walking out of the clubroom when he was stopped by Kazuto and Kitsune. I suggest you don't try to stop me. I'd rather not have to force you out of my way, Jake threatened. You heard what Rhea said. It's suicide to go into the church by yourself. That's why me and Kitsune are coming with you, Kazuto said with a determined smile on his face. Jake turned around and faced Kazuto and Kitsune with a surprised look on his face. Kitsune looked up at Jake. You don't have a choice in this matter, so you might as well get over it. A smile creeped up on Jake's face. Well then, let's go. Jake, Kazuto, and Kitsune began heading out to the church where the fallen angels and Asuka resided. Rhea and Ava were walking into the woods near the church, where they ran into the fallen angel, Ritsuka. Lady Rhea, it's interesting to see you this close to the church. What's the occasion? Ritsuka asked her. Rhea chuckled softly. Oh, nothing too special. I just want to make sure there are no interruptions in my servant's fight against Rikiki. Ritsuka smiled. We figured that lunatic would try to barge in here tonight. Anything to protect that sinful nun. Rhea's smile quickly went away when he called me a lunatic. Ava began giggling loudly. I suggest you don't call Randy a lunatic. Rhea gets very upset when someone insults one of her servants. A demonic aura began engulfing Rhea. She looked up at Ritsuka with a glare in her eyes. I promise you, the next time you insult him, I will show you no mercy. Ritsuka began laughing hysterically, pulling out his pistols. You know, I was in a mood to kill an upper-tier demon today. How about you make my day, Lady Rhea? Rhea's aura began to grow rapidly at the challenge. Ava, do me a favor and don't interrupt this fight. Ava nodded and stepped back to allow Rhea and Ritsuka to fight one another. Ritsuka pointed his pistol at Rhea and started firing his holy bullets at her. However, Rhea easily dodged every single one of them, coming closer and closer to Ritsuka. Rhea begins to move her hand forward to Ritsuka as he notices and dodges and stands on a tree branch. Damn, that was close. One mistake and I'm dust. Ritsuka reloads his pistols. You're very well known across the spectrum. Your demonic aura is so strong you're able to dry up the body's water and turn your enemies to dust. Very formidable indeed. Seems like I'm going to have to stay back for this one. In an instant, Rhea appears behind Ritsuka, causing him to fall backwards off the tree. Rhea chases after him with a bloodlusted look on her face. Suddenly, Ritsuka fires his gun with Rhea barely dodging, getting a cut on the cheek, burning her from the holy bullet. Rhea falls to her knees in pain, a massive burn mark appearing on her face. Ritsuka comes to his feet. You were too focused on killing me. You weren't focused on the possibility of getting shot. That's a mistake a low-tier demon makes, not those of the upper tier. You should be ashamed. You let your emotions control you. Ritsuka points his gun at Rhea, aiming for her head. Before he could pull the trigger, he suddenly began to feel weak and heavy. He turns his head and sees Rhea behind him with their hands on his head. How did you get behind me so quickly? Ritsuka asked as his body became nothing but skin and bone. Rhea being barely able to speak, responds, The one thing you forgot about me and my company. Everyone is gifted as one of the fastest demons in the underworld. Ritsuka began to scream in pain as all the water is dried from his body that results in him being turned to dust. Ava runs up to Rhea and helps her up to her feet before she collapses from exhaustion from the burning wound on her cheek. He's right, you know. You did let your emotions take control of you, Ava tells Rhea. Rhea giggles at Ava. You're right, I did let my emotions control me. I need to set a good example for everyone. Good thing you were the only one who saw this. At the church, Jake, Kazuto, and Kitsune show up and bust through the door ready to fight whoever they meet. They walk in slowly as if not to draw any attention to them. Suddenly, a familiar figure walks forward, wielding his sword and pistol. Oh shit, if it isn't that little bitch who got shot a couple days ago, Creed yelled in excitement. Jake stared through Creed. This time I promise you won't even lay a finger on me. Oh, pretty prideful for a bitch you just got his ass kicked last time, Creed said, pointing his gun at Jake. Suddenly, Jake appears behind Creed, which startles him. How did you get behind me so quickly? Creed shouted. Jake smirked and pulled out his scythe. Creed seemingly lost his mind. What? How did you get your hands on a demonic holy weapon? Kazu shot up in curiosity. What do you mean by demonic holy weapon? Creed backed away slowly. If you don't know, then I'm not saying shit. I'm out of here. Before Creed could escape, Kitsune rips up a seat row from its bolt and swings it, hitting Creed and shooting him into the church wall, knocking him out conscious. Eat it, Kitsune added. The group began to head down to the church basement where they saw Asuka tied to a wooden cross with Rikiki standing next to her. Asuka! Jake yelled out. Rikiki began laughing maniacally. If it isn't the three mental musketeers. Have you come to see your beloved Asuka die right in front of your eyes? Shut up, bitch. Once I get my hands on you, I'm gonna rip your fucking vocal cords out, Jake threateningly screamed. Oh, I love a dominant man. You might have gotten some if you had acted like this when we were dating, Rikiki mockingly screamed back. Before Jake could go into the attack, Kazuto stopped him. Randy, look below you. Jake looked down and saw a line of blinking lights on the ground. Those are angel beads. If you were to step on one, it would be like a landmine going off, Kazuto informs Jake as he grits his teeth. In the subconscious, Joseph yells, like anal beads! Jake closes his eyes and slows his breathing. The area around him began to slow down and eventually stopped altogether. Jake opened his eyes up and walked through the landmine. The blinking had stopped. Some had stopped blank, and some were still lit. Jake carefully moved around until he got to the platform where Rikiki and Asuka were. Time began to flow as normal again when Rikiki saw that Jake had appeared in front of her without setting off any of the beads made her step back. How did you get over here without setting off a single bead? Jake summoned his scythe. Time is a fickle thing. If you know how to control it, then everything becomes irrelevant, including your useless beads. Rikiki grits her teeth and screams at Jake. There's no way you can control time. That is impossible. You're just a low-life human-turned-demon. Jake stopped time and appears behind her, just about to swing his scythe. Rikiki dodges by the skin of her teeth. Jake turns to Kazuto and Kitsune. Find a way over here without setting off those beads. Kazuto and Kitsune both nod, both of whom jump and bounce off the nearest wall to get to where Jake and Rikiki were fighting. Rikiki summons her Spear of Light and stands guard against the three demons standing in front of her. Jake stops time and appears above Rikiki while Kazuto rushes her from the front. She tries to step backwards, but Kitsune had ran behind her to try to block her exit plan. Rikiki scoffs and spins her spear to where it creates many spears shooting out of it towards the demons. Jake stopped time and was able to dodge all of the mini spears. However, Kazuto and Kitsune both have burning cuts all over their arms, legs, and body. Kazuto, Kitsune, you guys alright? Jake asked concerningly. They nod and stand up, shaking from the pain, but they were ready to get back in the fight. Suddenly, Rikiki appears in front of Jake when he's distracted and summons golden restraints and pins Jake against the wall. A restraint on his neck as well as on his wrists and ankles. Alter switched to Joseph. This is not my idea of a fun time, Rikiki. Joseph hollers in pain. Rikiki begins to laugh maniacally, but is stopped when she notices that Kitsune is about to punch her. Rikiki dodges and stabs Kitsune in the shoulder with her spear. Kitsune begins wincing from the pain and from the burns. Kazuto attempts to cut Rikiki down, but fails as she pins him down, planting her spear in his left leg, preventing him from getting up. Rikiki begins chuckling to herself as she walks towards a prone Kitsune, who is still trying to recover from the previous attack from Rikiki. Rikiki kicks her in the abdomen and stomps on her head, pushing her head down to the ground with her foot. Hey, fallen angel whore! Leave best friend alone or I'm gonna beat your ass! Joseph loudly threatens Rikiki. Rikiki laughs again. Oh dear Joseph, what can you possibly do against me with those restraints on you? Don't even try to use your powers. They nullify all demonic power. Joseph scoffs and struggles to get the restraints off of him. Rikiki walks toward the unconscious body of Asuka and smirks. It's now time for you to do your duty to God and sacrifice your healing ability to someone who will use it for a much better cause. Rikiki begins muttering some sort of recital that causes Asuka to wake up suddenly and begins screaming in pain. The color in her eyes beginning to go away slowly, as well as a light coming from her chest where her heart is at. Joseph begins seething angrily due to him not being able to do anything, doing everything he can to break the restraints. The ritual ends and Asuka's head drops, her body becoming lifeless. Rikiki's body begins to glow the same color Asuka's healing ability was. Asuka, wake up! Stop fucking with me now! Joseph screams out in hopes Asuka will respond. Rikiki laughs at Joseph and walks towards him. Oh, Joseph, Asuka won't be able to hear you. She's now burning in hell where she deserves to be, Rikiki says, slapping Joseph in the face. Alter switch to Randy. I look up at Rikiki with a pissed off look. Rikiki slaps me again, demanding I stop looking at her like that. I begin pulling from the restraints, causing the wall behind me to shake profusely. Rikiki steps back. What are you doing, Randy? You won't be able to break from those restraints no matter how hard you try. Eventually I do break free, causing the restraints to disappear, and the wall to fall down behind me. I jump down and stare right through Rikiki. I run and grab Asuka down from the crucifix she was on and hold her in my arms without Rikiki noticing. She turns around and steps back. How did you break free? You're just a lowlife, nothing more than someone's slave. You're a nobody! I stand up, still looking down at Asuka, holding her close to me. I'm so sorry. I vanish again, this time grabbing the spear that has Kazuto pinned down. I pull it out, causing my hand's skin to begin peeling off from the burns the spear caused. Kazuto, grab Kitsune and let's get the hell out of here. Kazuto agrees and grabs Kitsune. When Rikiki tries to stop him, I appear in front of her and kick her away, knocking her across the room. Kazuto and I bounce off the wall to get back to the main floor of the church. There I sit Asuka's body down to the closest row of seats and hold her hand in mine, squeezing, hoping to feel something that could indicate that she was still alive, but there was nothing. Tears began to flow down my face. Kazuto puts his hand on my back, also saddened from the recent events. Rikiki appears behind us. Do you think you can run away so easily? All three of you will fucking die right in this church! She screams at the top of her lungs. I let go of Asuka and stand up and turn to Rikiki with the clear bloodlust being visible in my eyes. I put my right arm out, just on pure instinct alone. Suddenly a black flame begins enveloping my arm. When the flames dissipate, a pure black sword appears in my hand. I point it at Rikiki and slowly walk towards her. The pure presence of my bloodlust has caused Rikiki to freeze from fear, look at me as if I was stories above her, about to smite her down to an early grave. She begins to try to fly away, but I grab her ankle, Rikiki screaming in fear. I swing my sword, cutting her in half, her upper body turning into nothing but a splatter of blood across the church wall. Nothing else to be seen. Her lower half flops to the ground while I'm still holding it by the ankle. Rhea walks in and begins clapping. Good job, Randy. That was quite impressive, she tells me with a smile on her face. I drop Rikiki's lower body and walk right up to Rhea without changing my pissed off expression. She looks concerned, but before she could say anything, I punch her in the face, knocking her down to the ground. Ava and Kazuto are left dumbfounded by this. I never asked to be a fucking demon. If I were given a choice, I would have rather be left dead when Rikiki killed me. But no, I'm stuck with a near immortal lifespan where I have to watch the people I care about die. Rhea, you brought me back to life, so you're gonna bring Asuka back to life. She did not deserve this. You fucking know this. Bring her back. Please. I begin yelling, but then slowly calm down with tears coming down my face. Rhea has a look of pure shock on her face, but she stands up, wipes the dust off of her. I'll just ignore that she put your hands on your master. But Randy, I will grant your request. You are absolutely correct. That poor girl did not deserve to have what happened to her. Rhea tells me, wrapping her arms around me and holding me close to her. She lets go of me after a little while and walks towards Asuka's body. She puts her hand into her body and pulls out 3 pieces of paper, each with pentagrams embedded into them. 3 should be enough for her, she exclaims. Wait, what do pieces of paper have to do with resurrecting Asuka? I ask, clearly not knowing what's going on. These are resurrection files. Depending on the person's potential, the more that is needed to resurrect them. I had to use 10 in order to resurrect you. You should be proud, Rhea replied with a smile on her face. Rhea places the files onto Asuka's body, to which are absorbed into her body. Rhea held her arms out and her body began glowing with a red aura. Eventually Asuka's body began to do the same thing. The glowing stopped as Asuka's eyes opened up with a confused expression on her face. Out of pure happiness, I ran up to Asuka and hugged her tightly. I'm so glad you're back, Asuka, I tell her with tears flowing down my face. Asuka placed her hands on my back and held me close to her with a soothing smile on her face. And that is the end of Chapter 4.